and welcome to the Reach In Talk Show with yours truly. Yes, it's me. Yes, it is me. The Dr. Nicole Lynette, your host. And I am so excited because you all know we talk all things life and wellness. And today, our special guest, wow, you know that saying, a jack of all trades, a master of none, but we don't, that doesn't apply to this young lady. She is a master of many, and she is a jewel and a rare diamond to communities and the life of our people. And she is remarkable in helping others blossom and grow. And she has a heart to serve. And her voice, when you see her, you know what I'm saying, is a powerful voice that changes the world. And she does this one day at a time. So without further ado, help me welcome Miss Tanisha Manning to our room today. Give it up.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, man. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you do and who you are helping people to become.
Yeah.
So, I know a little bit about you, but let's talk to the people. Let's find out a little bit about who are you, where you from, what are you, single, married, in a situationship? I mean, what's going on with you, Miss Man?
Okay, so we need to get a tea. Okay. No, first of all, thank you. It makes me kind of sentimental, but I'm Tanisha Manning. I am from Houston, Texas, born and raised. From Sunnyside, South Park.
Yes.
Depends on who you're talking to. Determines which area you can say you're from.
Right.
But I graduated from Ebony Worthing High School.
I am so sorry about that.
See, that's
okay. It's okay.
I try and explain to people
but I still
that
love
Worthing
you.
produces greatness. Okay. See, you sit in the room.
Absolutely. Greatness recognize greatness. Yes.
Okay. After Worthing, I went to undergrad in Little Rock, Arkansas at Philander Smith University now, where I obtained my degree in business administration with a minor in political science. I actually took a gap year after that, came back, was a student success coach at Westbury High School, and my kids there, I call them my kids, I was on them about going to college and getting college applications, and they were like, so what are you doing about law school? I was like, okay, gather me. So I went to law school after that in New Orleans at Tulane University. But I always tell everyone I'm a lawyer that does not practice law because I recognized about my second year that a lot of the root issues in our community are in the policies and the laws that are enacted. And so I just prayed to God, like, please give me a policy position, which he did. Worked for the county was a policy advisor for about 2.5 years. Now I do community engagement work with some policy still on my plate. Okay. I'm single. I love God. My church is New Life Temple Church. All of my speaking, my voice, all of that, my gifts, they were rooted in my church home. I tell everybody my first public speaking experience was at the church where we did our Easter speeches and we always got the loans.
Girl, come on now. Yes.
And we did not walk up there with a paper. We had to memorize them.
Yes.
And so outside of my career job, I have a nonprofit, Engaged Voters, which I'm sure we're going to dive into that, where we work to increase the number of young black voters in Houston. And I have my Tanisha Manning brand where I'm a professional branding coach. For about 6 years, I've done resumes and cover letters. I've shifted from that, and now I do public speaking on various topics across the country. So.
Okay.
That's me in a nutshell.
She's internationally known, and she has graced our place here. And
it's an honor to be here.
And it's an honor to have you, my sister. Yes. I love it. Yes, I do. So you have a lot going on. I'm thinking you started when you were about 2.
Yeah. I started reading at the age of 4.
Okay, 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. So that lets me know, I'm thinking your name is Tanisha. I'm thinking you're pretty tenacious.
Okay, yes, wordplay.
Yes, yes.
I love it, yes.
Yes, and it's always good to expose the sheroes and the heroes in our communities.
Absolutely.
Because the narratives are so negative.
Absolutely.
Regarding our, let me be specific, African American communities.
Yeah.
And you being, you forgot to throw in there an author. She forgot to tell y'all she's an author.
I'm an author.
And I read about the 5-step guide to starting a business as a Black millennial.
Yeah.
And just that book itself, and finding out you're an author and starting business as a millennial and all of that is such a great, as I'm thinking Bible now, lamp unto my feet, light unto my path. It's a great light, let me just say right, a great lit path for millennials and Gen Zers and generations to actually follow. Because a lot of times you hear, other older groups that are saying, what young people should do and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But it's just really good when you have millennials and those that are focused in that gap, to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And when I listen to you and I see you, because I've had a chance to spend some time with you, I think of you as a bridge, and we can do bridge over troubled waters. We can do bridge, that keeps the trolls away. I don't know, but a bridge, community bridge.
Yeah.
And oftentimes here lately, I've been talking about gatekeepers.
Come on.
And you're a powerful gatekeeper. And so I'm so excited to have met you and have had time to spend time with you. Kind of missed my time with you, but that's all right. We'll catch up later. You're here today, so I'm excited to have you here. So I know you're a lawyer that doesn't practice law, but technically you're an advocate. So some of the similar things.
Yeah.
But what type of law did you study?
So I actually most of my coursework after the first year you get to line it up.
Right.
It was criminal defense.
Okay.
I tell everyone if I ever practiced, it would be criminal defense.
Okay.
I did internships with the Orleans Public Defenders, and that's where my heart broke. I do not like the system. Hate is a strong word, but I really do hate our criminal justice system.
Right.
So I've actually never practiced, but if I do, I still, the policy work I do, it's all still rooted in, transforming or maybe getting rid of our justice system.
Right, right. And maybe creating a new, more
because
viable.
it was never created for us to thrive and succeed.
Right.
The first slave patrols, the first police were slave patrols to catch slaves who had run away or who had even been freed and were in a different location and now. So, it was never built for us to actually have fair and equal justice.
Right.
And so until we really address those root causes, then we see the results in everything, all the disparities. And that's just a whole, I could take us
don't you start nothing
start
else up on them. We're going to start some stuff, but let's try and keep it focused.
Yes. But I took a lot of coursework, did a lot of courses, or took a lot of courses, related to criminal law.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That's amazing. And, and on the other side of that, dealing with the root causes in the criminal injustice system, then also teaching our youth and community on what those barriers, those traps, and all of those things are, and helping them to identify them.
Yeah.
So that we can know how to strategize and equip them on how not to get entangled with that system.
Right.
Because when you know your enemy, I always think strategically about the art of war. When you study your enemy, whatever that may be, person, place, thing, thought, when you know your enemy, then we can't just keep saying, well, we have an enemy, and succumbing to the idea that we have an enemy.
Right.
We have to know our enemy and then use wisdom and strategies
That's it.
to prevail beyond our enemies.
That's it.
So basically what I'm saying in a nutshell, so that we can stop using excuses in our communities for not thriving.
Yeah, that's the whole thing too. I do know that sometimes we are our own downfall. And I am one of the ones to say, well, do we have a choice? But it is also some of that, the accountability.
Right.
We like to, I tell people, let's not share the blame. Let's share accountability.
Right.
And there is a role that we have to play, considering the circumstances that we are faced with.
Right.
Where we just got to do what we got to do.
Right.
You
right.
know?
Yes, ma'am.
And we have to do it well.
Right.
Even better.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do the extra work. Put in the sweat equity and all of that. I was sharing with some young people just yesterday how, it's not necessarily fair that as African Americans, that no matter, and especially, don't let me go there with women, that we have to seemingly do double work just to be acknowledged that we actually even did some work.
Yeah.
And also, just we have to put our head down and say, okay, if they're not providing me a platform, how do I create my own platform? I have a cousin, he's an ex-offender, and he runs a very, very lucrative, viable business. And he hires gentlemen with history just like himself.
Yeah.
So if they won't hire you, then what can you do to gather a skill or vocation or something where you can begin to be your own boss and then help others do the same thing?
Yeah.
Which is part of one of the things you do. Yes, ma'am. You create and help others build their professional brands.
Yeah.
And you say you've been doing that for about 6 years.
About 6 years. Some days I'm like, God, I can't believe I'm really doing this. But professional branding is, it's a slew of things. But the most basic things I tell folks is, okay, hey, you need to be able to have a decent resume, a very nice resume, and a cover letter if needed. Then you need to know how to handle interviews. Right. You need to know how to send emails. So just the whole professional branding of a person. I work one-on-one with a lot of from college students on up, even some recent high school grads. Right now, some of my speaking engagements are to older high school students and college students, because we got to prepare them. And what I like to tell them is that we know this is 2023. This is a lot of new things, but a lot of industries are still very traditional. Yes, especially the legal, right? And so we have to play the game a little bit. Yes. But we have to be able to navigate in these spaces, because I tell them, I can navigate in one space and I'm a whole different person in another. Space, yes. We can be multifaceted, but that professional side of you have to be able to grow that, build that, foster that. Right. And so I do a lot of that. Well, I keep saying I do. I did a lot of it. Now I just kind of teach it. Right. I'm working on releasing a webinar for resumes so that people can do it on their own, because I just don't have the capacity to do them anymore.
Right,
so.
right. Well, that's a part of people eating.
Yeah.
You can give them a fish, or you can teach them how to fish.
Yes.
Because if you give them a fish, they eat for a day.
Yeah.
Teach them how to fish, they eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So, and that just shows the success that you have, because you've outgrown the need to just cook for folk. You're teaching them how to cook for themselves. Glory. So that means your capacity, as you say, have been expanded. And you've outgrown that. Yeah. So I think that's magnificent, because that's how the community is able to reproduce.
Thank you for saying that, because I'm like, ooh. I get a lot of messages. I'm like, I'm sorry, y'all, I don't do them anymore. But
well, we need you to grow. Yeah. Here's some information. Take it and grow.
Yeah.
Grow. Because we are responsible for our growth.
Absolutely.
When we receive the information, learn the application.
Come on.
And have the comprehension.
Yeah, that's the part where we go wrong a lot of times.
The comprehension.
Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Right. I'm telling the word. you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But and that's very important, especially I talk about in our communities, because I don't believe in common sense.
Yeah, okay.
I think common sense is common sense is coming to whom it's coming to. Because here's the deal. I may think that someone should know something, but I'm not aware of their background.
Yeah,
I don't know
true.
what they've been exposed to or not been exposed to. And I think that we have to be very careful because it creates a spirit of arrogance when we say you should know that, but you don't know the backdrop. You don't know if I've ever been exposed to that. You don't know, even if I've been exposed to it, did I understand what I was exposed to? And so if no one took the time to invest in a person to teach them and to make sure that they understood what they were being taught, then I don't think we have the right to say they well, let me just say expect for someone to know something that maybe we know.
Okay, teach us.
So we have to be careful about that, because I think what happens even in the school settings, we assume that a student should know something, and their comprehension level may be different than another student's comprehension level. But then we can fast forward it, adults are the same way. No two people all learn the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so that requires us to be a little bit more patient with each other.
I agree.
And so common sense is out the window with me. Okay. Common sense is I am very studious. Okay. I've always been an overachiever. But let me tell you, I disclosed this in my last show. When math, and I was top in math until I got to Algebra 2. But that was because I had an instructor that felt that helping with the alumni was more important than being in the classroom teaching us.
Okay.
And so I intentionally failed that class.
Yeah.
Because she was just going to pass me, but I wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
So that I can take it the next year.
And actually.
Then I had another teacher, she didn't play that. And I appreciated her.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure I had the information that I comprehended.
That's good.
Because I was so afraid of going to college and being the one in the class looking like the dummy. I'm just going to be honest.
Okay.
My pride wouldn't let me do it.
Yes.
Wouldn't let me do it. But
I'm not a fan of math. I hated Algebra 1, 2, statistics, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
But
kudos to you.
And that's what I'm saying. We all learn differently.
Yeah.
And we all have things we excel in.
Yeah.
And, even in families, we have to be careful because we there's comparisons with children. And that creates trauma, drama.
Yes, it is.
And all that stuff from your daddy and your mama. So look at me dropping bars in here today. Y'all look. So that's why I came in here with my cap in here today. Y'all gonna drop some bars. No?
Period. Okay.
But, these are just things, because when we start talking about branding, and everyone has their own brand, their own personal signature, and I really appreciate that. I know you said, from upper high school level and up, but I believe when we begin to teach young people, and my favorite babies are middle schoolers. And that's the one everybody be like, I am not dealing with that group. I'm going to need you to release that breath.
Yeah.
But you have to understand something about those in middle school and junior high. They're no longer the babies in elementary school.
Right.
That's the time puberty is hitting.
Yeah.
They're trying to find their identity and all of that. And that's the time when parents are like, okay, well, y'all been in school long enough now. So parents feel like, okay, I can let you make it.
Yeah.
But that's the time gangs are looking for them. The times they're trying to find their identity and all of that. So you have the perpetrators out here. Yeah. They're struggling with their identity and who they are, who they're trying to be, peer pressure, extra, and all of that. And, possible suicide because nobody loves me, nobody likes me,
Right.
And parents don't know anything. That's just they know nothing. You don't know me.
Yeah.
But you don't know yourself. But however, we can't tell them that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can, but
And in so many words.
In so many words. But teaching them about their personal brand, about their own, not that I'm adding a component to your work, but, these things, when we teach them, you're different. So you don't have to model someone else. Learn who you are, your unique values that you bring. Yeah. What do you like? What do you dislike? Things that you don't have to like what somebody else likes to be cool.
Right.
And just fast forward, just because I've taught in the prisons, and those are the type of things that happen.
Yeah.
They're trying to be cool and be accepted. And these are older people, but they never broke that cycle when they were younger.
Exactly.
So branding, for the older generation, I can just really see how creating a, helping younger people understand their personal brand.
It goes a long way. Even we miss the mark a lot with our middle school babies. Working at the high school, I'm like, okay, I wish I would have maybe started a few years back, because I dealt with the seniors a lot, and I'm like, I'm unpacking so much and I'm undoing so much, but it was almost too late because they were about to hit the real world.
Right.
Even speaking to some college students back in April, I did a speaking engagement at a college in Georgia, and one of the personal branding worksheet, one of the questions was, what sets you apart? What makes you different from others? What do you like most about yourself?
Right.
What do you feel like they struggle with the most simple questions.
Yes.
And I'm like, I literally had to pause my whole, I had a whole thing. I'm like, okay, let's really unpack this.
Right.
And they told me we've been to many student leadership conferences, many trainings, but none like this where somebody actually helped us really think through who we are.
Yes.
So I agree. That is definitely a component. I got to get down to the level with the middle schools. I got a lot of cousins, and they keep me fresh.
Right.
They call me old now, but I am so young.
So if you old, I'm dust. So we're not accepting that old, because I am not dusty.
We rebuke that.
Now sometimes I might be a little salty, but I'm not dusty.
So yeah, we really do. And for a lot of things, whether it's the justice system, professional branding, their own identity, you listed a couple of things, suicide prevention, all of those things really starts the younger.
Yes.
Yeah, the younger they are. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, even with our organization, that's one of the things we focus on.
Yeah.
What is your vision, your personal vision for your life? Because
good.
if you don't have a vision for your life, life has a vision for you.
Yes.
And it usually does not work out that well.
Right.
So we teaching our young people vision so that when they, get to that point of the collegiate level and high school level, because there are young people in high school, I talk to them, so you're a sophomore, you're a junior. What are you planning to do on the other side of high school? I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Well, then I become their granny, mama, auntie, cousin, sister, friend. I become all of that in one, and I begin to challenge them because I don't know when I may come across their path again, and someone may not ever challenge them. And so I don't take that lightly and for granted. So branding is very important, and we've been there for a minute. But if you don't know your personal brand, you can call Miss Tanisha Manning. Get on her schedule. And
definitely get on the schedule.
You must be on the schedule, okay? Because she's a busy lady. Y'all heard everything she does, right? And there are some things that we're not even disclosing that she does.
Wow.
Yes. Because even as a community engagement coordinator, what made you decide to leave policy? And we're gonna get into the other stuff. We're not gonna talk about engagement.
Yes.
But what made you decide to get more into community than policy?
Yeah. Doing policy, I still am a policy guru. I do love it. Right. But I just realized whether we collectively as my colleagues, my team, or really me, we were missing the mark somewhere. We're creating these programs, these initiatives. We're thinking through them. We're having these brainstorms and these thought dumps with each other, but we were missing some of the most important voices, the people who we were creating these programs for.
Right.
And everybody knows at work, I work for the people. I came here to serve. I'm on assignment, so if I feel like that I'm not fulfilling my assignment, then it's time to kind of move around. And so, and take it spiritual, yes. God starts making you feel uncomfortable when you're not working in what He has for you. So
I'm gonna need you to put that belt down. And stop hitting me with that. Girl, quit hitting me with that belt before I call CPS.
You feel it. And so I made the decision. It was already kind of happening where, there were being shifts made on our team. And I was like, oh, I'm okay where I'm in. And they're like, no, actually, you should be here. And now that I'm doing community engagement, everybody I meet, they're like, you are like thriving. Like you're glowing in this role. Right. And I'm like, now I'm really on assignment. Like I'm really walking in what God has fulfilled for me, at least in this season.
Right.
And so I just felt like we were missing the most key part. And I do work for a local government, and
Right.
It's so far removed from people, and so
Right.
I tell everybody, all the
Right.
constituents, you are gonna see me in heels, you're gonna see me in the dress and
Yes.
stuff, but I promise you, I will get down and dirty with you,
Okay.
you know. So I'm still here, I still care. I just like to put heels on with it.
Okay. You like to get in the gutter.
Yes,
With the heels.
and my nails. That's my branding. You gonna see me with the heels and the nails.
Right, right, right. And I think that since you went spiritual, we think about because everybody know I'm a preacher too.
Yes, ma'am.
And they see me. Well, you all have seen me. You've never seen me dressed down, but now you know
That's
a
all
girl
right.
can dress down.
And still
I
look good.
I can do all things.
Yes.
Yes. However, I tell them, don't let the prettiness and the perkiness and the ladydom fool you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just a highway chick. Go to the highways and the hedges.
Yeah.
I'm a hedge chick. I like to get into the streets. I like to get in the gutter. I like to get where people don't want to go.
Yep.
Because those are some of our most viable citizens,
Mm-hmm.
communities. I shared on one of the last shows that even with the mayor's, what is these communities?
The complete community.
Complete communities. But when you're missing communities, there are no complete communities.
Yeah.
Because this city does not thrive
Yeah.
and become the great city that it is, no greater than the worst community that's in it.
Yeah. That
So
is good. That's
it's
good.
very important
Yeah.
to make sure the communities are complete.
Yeah. That's
So that means resources
Woo.
and that gap that you were talking about, the programs, and what I admire about you, because you were able to see where there needed to be a bridge. So I keep telling you, you keep reminding me of a bridge. So you have these governments, but they're so far removed from the people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a travesty, because representatives are supposed to represent the position of the people.
Come on.
So if we're not doing that,
Yeah. Yeah.
then that's a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's and so the people are here feeling like government does not care about them.
Yeah. They
And
feel
then
that.
government is here like, okay, we're just doing what we need to do.
Yeah.
And here's a question. How are you implementing programs and feel like this is what the people need if you have not
Right.
connected with the people?
Right. And a lot of political offices, I was very intentional with who I decided to work for and,
Right.
Where I work. And I tell people, government, we imperfect. We do not get it right all the time.
Right.
Some unintentional, a lot intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do have to really scrutinize and be critical of the government. It's our job to be responsive to the people.
Right.
And so, yeah, it is like, how do you develop these things? And so in my office is great at understanding root causes and understanding the needs and the values. But I'm like, but we also have to be great at touching the people.
Yes.
The people know that we get the roots of it, but the people need to know that we know them too.
Right.
And so we do way better than most. But again, are we perfect?
Right.
No.
Right.
And so I love what I do. I wake up every day happy. I was sharing with you, I was in CUNY Homes today.
Right.
And in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll go here, do what I have to do. I'm there eating, dancing, having a good time,
Right.
and I felt at home. And
Touching
I told
the
them,
people.
touching the people.
It's like shepherding. You want to smell like the sheep.
That's it.
Yes. We're going to stop there because we're going to take a break.
Okay.
Because we're going to talk about this thing you do, this
Okay.
thing you decided to do 3 years ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
So, y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. back, my amazing audience. This is the Reach In Talk Show with yours truly, the Dr. Nicole Lynette, where we talk all things life and wellness. And today we are in the house with an amazing, y'all, I love this word. I always wanted to use it, so I'm going to use it for her. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious type of sister.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I am so delighted to have her here with us today because she has so many gifts and facets that God has blessed her with to help people thrive. So we're going to just give her a warm welcome right back with Miss Tanisha Manning. So, again, yes, ma'am.
Beautiful word.
Yes, I love that word. I even know what it means, but we're not going there today.
Okay.
But look it up. Look it up.
up.
It has a powerful meaning.
Okay.
I broke down every part of that word.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah, Mary Poppins messed me up when I was little. That word, oh my God, that word. Don't make me start singing supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I can't sing, so you got it.
Something quite atrocious.
You got
Okay.
it.
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, I love that word. Okay. But you are not just a change agent. You are an impactor. And that means a lot for such a time as this. And I'm not just trying to impress you, but I'm trying to impress upon, even our listeners and our viewers that you came from Houston, Sunnyside, Texas, and it's almost like can anything good come out of Sunnyside? Well, I guess the Lord did something with you.
So much.
Even though you didn't
See,
come
now
from
you
Third
gonna have my
Ward.
people coming for you. You gonna have my people coming.
It's all right
for
because we roar and people gotta step back. I'm from the mighty JY High. You should have known
gotta
that.
bring the stampede for you.
Yes. Because when they come, they better come correct. But just saying that, the narrative. What I love about Reach In is the narrative.
Yeah.
Because you're a living proof of what and who. Because who you are is not the same as what you do. Okay. What you do is a reflection of who you are. And that'll probably be in my book.
That'll
so you have to, that'll preach, teach, and read. I got it in my book. But y'all can get the book when I get it published. But
we will get it.
So, talking about the things that you do, okay? So, let's just, before we jump into that part, give me your perspective regarding the state of our communities right now.
Transitioning. Our communities are really transitioning.
How
There's this, every aspect and component you look at, environmentally, our landscape is changing. If we bring it all the way to Sunnyside home, we see the new structures being built.
Yes.
We see the new things popping up in our neighborhoods and our communities. We feel the climate. This is probably the coolest summer we're going to feel moving forward, and it's hot, right? So we're transitioning from something else. Our elders are leaving us.
Yes.
Our giants are leaving us.
Yes.
We're transitioning from having them in our era to now it's us, right? There's a shift in our political landscape. We're used to very traditional political persons. This is a completely different landscape. Education wise, we are transitioning from, I don't want to say the old, we're transitioning from what we've known to almost the unknown. Technology, tech-wise, I'll just say tech-wise. The devices continue to expand. They're looking into AI and robots. Right. And so when it boils down to our community, we are transitioning, but are we keeping up? And are we keeping what was embedded in us and what was taught in us? And are we applying that while also using some of these newer unknown things?
Yes.
I think we're in a state of trying to figure it out.
Right.
And there's this resistance from what has always been here because they feel as if y'all are completely washing away what we've worked so hard to implement. And then there's this resistance from us where we're like, y'all are not even giving us space to breathe, to speak, to be. And so when I that's the word that I feel that we are in. Now, some other words, we are in a scary, we don't like to say that, but these are scary times. Because we just don't know. We literally just don't know what. Every day is something new.
Right.
Something new where we have to really hold on to our values and our morals.
Yes.
We have to really hold on to our money.
Yes.
We have to really hold on to our babies and our kids.
Yes.
And it's like, are we transitioning to something scary or powerful? These are some of the smartest kids, geniuses. We have some of the coolest devices that can do things for us. We are implementing new things that make life easier. So is it where's the balance?
Well, we're going to talk about that with this project that you started 3 years ago. Because I believe it has a lot to do with the questions that you just placed out there, even though I know some of them was rhetorical. But I do believe that we have to be careful about trying to uproot foundations.
Yep.
Because the truth of the matter is, if someone was to uproot the foundation of this building, nothing would be able to stand.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to remove foundations. I believe we need to grow and expand and evolve from those foundations, because I'm an avid believer that every generation should supersede the previous generation, because that's a part of growth.
Yes.
But how do you make that connection? Again, I'm going back to that B word. Bridges. You have to have bridges, and you have to have solid bridges that can withstand the test of time. And you have to have the proper gatekeepers in place. That is just something I don't know, that's just something I'm talking about that's just part of my speech now. Having the proper gatekeepers. How do you make that transition for, those shoulders that we stand on? Because we have shoulders that we stand on. And when we start trying to shake those shoulders, we fall. And we have to be careful not to do that. But how we have to also help those whose shoulders we stand on understand that if you try and start pulling us down, then we don't progress.
Absolutely.
So I believe education is a big part of that, because education helps annihilate ignorance. And ignorance, when you're not ignorant and you're knowledgeable, then you're more empowered and you're less fearful. So I think the fear comes from the lack of communication, effective communication. Can the older generation sit down with the younger generation and have an actual viable conversation, and actually have the patience to have that dialogue, or have someone to mediate that can handle that, and then make sure the dialogue happens in a healthy manner. But that's another topic. So 3 years ago, you gave birth.
Wow. Woo.
And when you gave birth to your nonprofit, the Engaged Voters.
Yes.
What created that that relationship of vision, thought, process, and manifestation? What impregnated you with that vision?
Wow. I've never given birth, so now I'm like, woo, this is real. So it was 2020, and it was the pandemic, one of the biggest presidential elections that we've come across, and the unjust killing of George Floyd.
Okay.
So it was just so much going on.
Okay.
And I love social media. I'm fasting from it right now, but people were kind of, it's this narrative, go vote, go vote, go vote. And my generation, or my peers, my colleagues, were resisting it for one of the most important elections. And I'm like, what is it? What is this? I've always been a voter. I've always been like very aligned with our civic engagement and advocacy. So I just did a poll on Instagram, and I said, well, why don't you vote? And I'm like, actually go back and watch my story and answer these questions. And a lot of it just really came back to they don't understand why our vote is important.
Yes.
People know that, yes, our folks fought for the right to vote. We really tired of hearing people tell us, they're like, we know this.
Right.
But, like, tell me today why my vote matters.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, well, I am going to take it upon myself, so I'm going to break it down for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it started with just me on social media all the time. And then I don't know if you recall, there was like a blackout day on social media during the pandemic. And
I recall.
I respect the why, but I was so upset on the day because it was multiple states like last day to register to vote, and it was multiple states like first day or last day to vote in some elections. It was just like, no. And I'm scrolling and everybody's page is black. So I made all these colorful posts. Very vibrant, colorful posts on my social media. And from that, seeds began to be planted. Folks started asking me to speak on their IG lives. Everybody was at home. My church created space for me to start speaking about voting. Right. And, like, it just became this thing. And everybody was like, okay, wait, you need to, like, continue to do this. Right. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, like, I used to always say that I'm going to have a nonprofit, don't know what it's going to look like. And so in 2020, I was like, I got to brand this. Of course, I'm like, no, this has to have a brand. Right. It's not the Tanisha Manning brand. And Engaged Voters was birthed just out of that whole time period. And just the need to just simply get the information out there. I could care less if, you know, it really had a brand. But I was just like, these folks got to know this, especially because we have an election coming up. Right. And it's more than just voting. And I was trying to get them to understand that. So. And this was right before I actually started working for the government. And I'm like, oh, okay, it all makes sense.
Right. So for our listeners, let's talk about it. Let's just break a little bit, unpack it a little bit. So what's the purpose, process, and the benefits of voting?
Ooh, okay. So, love this question. I just did a training last night, doing another one tomorrow. Okay. How do I want to package this in the best, quickest way? It is our duty to elect those who have the power to make decisions for us. Everybody cannot, unfortunately, the way we have to have a system in order. I mean, that's back in biblical times. There has to be an order in place. So you have to be able to, we deserve the right to vote for those who have that power. Okay, that's first. Then we deserve the right to actually have some role in that power, because it's not always just people on the ballots. It's also propositions and amendments. And you can say yes or no to how we're going to spend this money and how we're going to do this. Okay. So the benefits boil down to the complaints we have on a day-to-day basis. Is gonna, everything is political. We don't like to say that, you know, but it's gonna trickle back in some way to the decision makers. And that's the first step. You have to actually get the decision makers in there, and then you have to hold them accountable. Right. And how can you dare hold somebody accountable if you didn't even vote? Right. So it's almost like, okay, you come in here complaining about my food, you didn't even buy it. It was given to you for free. Right. Right. And it's like, okay, you have these things that you want to raise. Use your leverage. I voted for you. I can put you in here. I can take you out of here. Right. You know. Right. I know that was a lot to answer. You know, the process, the benefits, like it's very layered. And you know, we could have a whole talk about just really unpacking that. But I think at the root of it, at the foundation of it, we have that right. We deserve that right. And we should utilize it.
So exercise our right. So here's a question. So when things are on the ballot, this has been my challenge, and maybe you can help me with this, off script or on script. What I've noticed lately in voting, the scripting on the ballots, they're very ambiguous.
Absolutely.
And so it's how do we handle that? Is there a process?
Yes, there is.
About addressing that? Because when I think I'm a pretty smart person.
You are.
I'm pretty detailed. I'm pretty educated. And when I read a proposition on a ballot, and I can't discern what you're really trying to get me to say because it's so ambiguous and genuine. So, perfect example. So, would you like for kids to not have free lunch at school anymore? And knowing that's not the fullness of that proposition.
Right.
That's just, I would call it a carrot
Yeah.
to pull you in. And you use words like all and things of that nature. And the scripting is not something that is
The
in layman's
average.
terms that the average citizen that votes
Will be able to
can understand. So how do we hold anyone accountable for making sure that the scripting is at least, shall I say, for lack of a better word, in plain English?
Whew, that's some real organizing needed around that, because a lot of that is constitutional from years and years. It's very historical. I was sharing with some community organizations last night. You know, we can't, I won't say we can't, but we would have to really like uproot a lot of that, the system, in order for them to put that in layman's terms. So what do? We get on the ground and we figure it out ourselves. So Engaged Voters was created specifically for that reason.
Okay.
I think there are beautiful orgs that do voter registration.
Yes.
There are many. There are not many that say, we're going to break this down for you.
Okay.
And my audience is young, black, millennials, Gen Zs. So when I talk to them, I'm like, okay, look, this is what they saying on here.
Right.
And so the way to combat that without having to, knowing that, hey, the election is coming up, they're not about to change the language, we do our own research. I tell folks, you have to approach voting like it is a class or it is a homework assignment or something. Right now, there will be 14 constitutional amendments to the Texas Constitution on the November ballot. If you read those 14 amendments, you're not going to understand just off. And I went to law school. I tell people, I can't stand reading it either. But they also have an explanatory document, and they're going to break it down. And you can read that document. You can look at it. You can get familiar with it. And you can ask questions to your state reps and state senators. Call them. I've called the White House. I believe in, y'all going to hear me.
Right.
And they do answer. So that's the thing. But we have to do our homework, and that's the accountability part, right?
Yes.
I know. Why should we be held accountable to break this language down? Why can't they just give it to us right? They're not, okay? We know we live in America. They're not about to do it.
Right.
So what are we going to do? We get smarter. Okay, two can play that game. And so what we do is we, ahead of time, because the county have one that's likely going to be on the ballot as well.
Okay.
And the city, not quite sure yet. The state ones actually look a little bit more plain English than the counties and the city. So you have to, ahead of time, read into these things and then, start asking questions. Lean on the expertise of those such as Engaged Voters and other orgs to break it down for you.
So do you all host webinars, seminars?
Yeah, we're everywhere. So we do host teach-ins. We go to churches, civic clubs, schools, other orgs.
Okay.
We get on there, whether it's virtual or in person. We get on IG Live. We post things on our table. When we table at events, we have one-pagers. We try and get this info out. We do posts on our social media page, like, do you know posts? Like, did you know this? We try and get the word out as much as we can. So we are as accessible as we can be. Not the biggest team. I do champion a lot of it, but that I signed up like that. That's okay.
That's your passion.
Yeah.
So speaking to that, actually, because the more human resources you can have, and of course, when you have more, you can do more. So do you accept volunteers?
Yeah.
Do you train?
Yeah, so we do accept volunteers. We have like phone banking, text banking, door canvassing, all of that is coming up this year. We host events. We have a block party on September 16th. We do an election day party. We table, so I'm always looking for that man support. We do have interns and staff, but the volunteers is just something different. We also do train others. So last night we trained other community leaders on how to teach the ballot. Tomorrow I'm doing another one just in person. Last night it was virtual. So they can do what I'm doing, because I can't be everywhere. And I'm very specific with my target audience, so that others can be around the city teaching this same information.
Yes.
Because it's never mine to keep.
Yes, yes. Freely given, freely given.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. It just growth, expansion.
Yeah.
So you do so much. You have such a heart of service. And I know a lot of that come from your relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
But who has inspired you? Who has been the role model for you in your life that has inspired you to serve and help people and love people the way you do?
Great question. I think I was asked this before, and I actually gave like 3 people. My spiritual inspiration is my pastor, Bishop Brenda K. Perry.
Okay.
The most humble, selfless woman that I've watched for years. She is my spiritual advisor. I tell her, if I ever make it to the White House, you will have your own place in there. And she leads by example, and it comes straight from God, and I wanted to embrace that.
Right.
Political inspiration is my mentor, Dr. Joseph Jones. He a tough mentor. He got on me, and he gets on me. And then the advocacy part is a combination of Angela Rye and Tamika Mallory. I love Angela's intellect and even Tamika's, but Tamika has a fire, the advocacy. I'm a little bit out of my activism days, but I used to be out there protesting, and I was in there, but so those are a few people. I know you said one, but it's a combination that,
I just said who. So your who was more than one.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because I know that there's always a seed planted somewhere.
Yes.
When we're out there, because none of us, there's no self-made successful person. We all have received something from someone in our lives to stimulate us to grow and become even more the better person that we can be, so that light can shine through and shine upon others and encourage them. And so I would love to continue this dialogue, because you are such let me just say, you're just a gift to society, but you're a gift to the world. And I was going to ask you, so since you said it, girl, you going to run for president? Because you already said it. You ever get in there.
It used to be my dream. I believed it with everything in me, but now...
You're still young.
I am still very young, but I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
You don't know. Exactly, because we don't know.
We don't know. I went to D.C. and I was like, wait, I forgot why I said I wanted to move here, because, yes, D.C. is a vibe. But
well, there's paths to the ultimate path. So we don't know. But if you all are wanting to know more information about voting, what that process looks like, what's the significance of it, the benefits, you can reach out to engagevoters.org. Did I get that correct? Okay. And when you do that, and as you see, she has a plethora of gifts and to offer to the community. Of course, that's not always free. So I'm just saying, you can't really pay for the value of what she has. However, but you can invest in yourself. Come on through. But before we leave today, if you were to give a word of advice or just a word of encouragement to young women, young men in our communities who feel like their vote does not matter, but even beyond their vote not mattering, they don't matter, what would be that word of encouragement to them?
It's going to be a word, Jeremiah 29 and 11.
Tell them.
For I know the plans I have for you, the plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And that's the word. And I just really encourage you to really tap into the purpose that God has for you. And I know people say that all the time, so how do we do that? You got to get to know you first. And just know that you really do have a purpose. everything I do is rooted in, I believe everyone has a purpose. And so just hold on a little while longer, and truly dig a little deeper, get through the ugly parts of it, and just know that the plans that God has for you is beyond what you can imagine. I say that every day. Every time I think I'm experiencing the best day of my life, when God blesses me with something, He turns around later and it's something else. And the same can be for you. So I really just encourage you to hold on to the faith and know that you really do have a purpose, especially with your vote. And I can break it down for you.
So how can they contact you?
Yes, so a couple of ways. The Tanisha Manning brand, professional branding, is www.tanishamanning.com. Instagram is Tanisha Manning, and it's TANISHA. The Engaged Voters brand is www.engagedvoters.org, and the Instagram is Engaged Voters. For both of those, you can email info@tanishamanning.com or info@engagedvoters.org, and you'll get in contact with me or one of my staff, and you'll get to me one way or the other. So.
Okay. So, is it too late for them to register to vote?
No, October 10th is the last day to register to vote. So you still have time. Even if you register after October 10th, you just can't vote in November, but you can vote in the primaries, which will be in March, or in the runoffs, because that's the thing too. But yes, October 10th is the last day to register to vote in the state of Texas.
So your action item, if you are not registered to vote, please register to vote. You may not understand the totality of the process, but that's why you have Ms. Manning here and Engaged Voters. Reach out to them. But go ahead and register to vote, because truly your vote does matter. It does count. And Ms. Manning, as always, it is a delight and a blessing
Thank
to
you.
have
Truly,
you
thank you.
to
Thank you
grace
for the
us
platform.
with your presence. And not just that, but the information to help empower people and to help them grow. And we talk all things life and all things, wait a minute, y'all, I don't got potato. We talk
life and wellness.
All things life and wellness. And we do that because we want you to understand that you have a power on the inside of you to help become successful in your life, regardless of your background. So until next time, this is Reach In. Reach In.